I think we're gonna get started, and then if people filter in, we'll just let them jump in. So Sandy, I'm gonna toss it over to you to introduce Flavia.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Some of you I knew back at our time at Starbucks, and some I've met through the Green Apron Alliance. So what a wonderful group this is, and I'm glad we can still be connected. And same with Flavia. She and I worked in the same, I was a graphic designer. She was an interior designer, and our groups were in the same area of the SSC on the 7th floor back in 1997. And now more recently, we've reconnected. And I was privileged to design her brand identity for this life positive design direction she's going. And so that's been a lovely collaboration. Flavia is an architect and interior designer, and her focus is on sustainability. She was a partner in Store Development International from '96 till 2009, as she mentioned. She's lived in 7 different countries, which is amazing. Originally from Italy, now lives in Berkeley, California. So from her introduction, Flavia is a global retail futurist and innovator. She is a customer-focused strategic thinker, highly sought-out designer, and a consultant who creatively and effectively delivers store design solutions for retail brands. Her extensive background with international brands such as Starbucks, Peet's Coffee, Bloomin' Brands, and Highlands Coffee Vietnam, as well as emerging brands such as Rubio's Coastal Grill and First Watch, has strengthened her creative powers to effectively fulfill clients' innovation aspirations. In the last 5 years, she's complemented her skills with the study of biomimicry and how the emulation of nature's genius can inspire ethical and profitable solutions to shape the future of retail, which is what we'll learn about today, and I'm so excited. So with that, we are excited to hear about this new venture with Flavia. Welcome, Flavia.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you, of course, Sandy, for this generous introduction and for all of you to be here. And a special thanks to Doug Koob. I have to say that because he has been on this journey with me, and he has really encouraged me to put together this body of work and share with all of you. So Life Positive Design is a design consulting firm focusing on my love for retail, my passion for sustainability, and the belief that art is absolutely important to create content and build a brand and culture. Today, I will tell a bit more about my journey and try to explain as best as I can what life positive design is. And I hope we leave this hour or so together with a few ideas on how to create new retail narratives and futures. Oops. First technical difficulty. Oh, there we go. So retail is a big industry. One of the biggest industries in the world, is at the center of the civic communities and commerce. And in this beautiful picture of the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele in Milano, where I was born and raised, you see people happy together shopping, maybe grabbing a coffee or spotting the last trend. Well, this lifestyle ended when the pandemic happened. And of course, now our community look more like this. Stores are closed and windows are boarded. So as experts and people who are professionals in the field of retail, I believe we have the responsibility to start reimagining our industry and offer content. So before we dive into that, I would like to share a bit about my journey in a bit more detail. I started, as you heard, in 1997 when Starbucks had 600 stores or so. and was about to launch the Aroma Brew, Grow and Roast with the AB store Doppio. This may bring a smile to your faces, but I did most of my work in international and specifically with the EMEA region. And here you see a few of my favorite stores in Spain. The epics of that time came in 2008, 2009, when I was a key member of the team that delivered Starbucks Euro Disney Paris. And this was the first of many firsts, if I may say. Not only Disney, it unveiled the Artisan new interiors concept based on the inspiration of the modern industrial architecture of the 20th first century, early 21st century in Europe. Paris has an amazing example at La Maison de Verre by Charot. It was LEED Platinum certified, I believe first for Starbucks and in France. And it also unveiled the Share Planet, a body of communication that Starbucks put together related to coffee sourcing, but also facts on the sustainability achievements in this particular store design. And these efforts didn't go unnoticed, as in 2010, the Association of Retail Environments awarded the Grand Prize of Sustainability. This is a milestone in my career because it launched me into sustainable design. And today I would like to share, to begin with, 5 different approaches that a retail brand can leverage if wishing to achieve a sustainability purpose. I mentioned leadership in energy and environmental design. This is a resource-centered, third-party prescriptive standards that addresses lowering use of water or power and materials, but also starts to put attention on the people who occupy the buildings. And this center on the occupants emerged and became even more important about 10 years ago when the Well Building Institute launched these standards for healthy buildings. These are more relevant than ever today because we spend most of our time indoors, 90% of our time indoors, and our children spend less than an hour outside. That is less than a person in prison would do. So these standards put a lot of attention on purity of air, exposure to natural light, movement in the building, lack of toxicity of material, thermal comfort, and so forth. In 2013, I encountered the Living Building Challenge. Now, this is another body of standards, performance-driven, leaving more latitude to a creative team to decide how to achieve zero carbon or zero energy certification. What I find interesting is that it's inspired by the metaphor of the flower. So just like a flower, a building is rooted in place. It takes all the energy it needs from the sun, the water it needs from the rain. It processes materials and waste in place, and it's by its own self beautiful. So the Living Building Challenge brings that idea of beauty and happiness to a building that is also sustainable. And the question is, how do we describe beauty? Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, but the good inspiration here is that we look at nature for a solution, and specifically the Living Building Challenge adopted the concept of biophilia, launched by the world famous biologist Edward Wilson. Biophilia is life and a feeling of a friendly love for life and what's associated with it. In Wilson's words, biophilia is the urge to affiliate with other forms of life. It is the rich natural pleasure that comes from being surrounded by living organisms. And let's untap this a little bit. We as Homo sapiens sapiens have been on planet Earth for 300,000 years. During the last 10,000 years, we practice agriculture, but we come with an experience of 290,000 years of living in an African savanna or in a oceanside community in the tropics or in places that have abundance or scarcity of water, or places that may look unhospitable, but we learned how to live in these places as well as other many living organisms. Only during the last 250 years, the Industrial Revolution emerged. And so from a species who has been used to live in contact with nature, we have moved to urban areas, and this is the environment that we know today, separating ourselves from nature and where we have been coming from. I personally believe that nature does have the answers for humanity to be successful on Earth. And echoing Stephen Keller, another famous biologist, we will never be truly healthy, satisfied, or fulfilled if we live apart and alienated from the environment from which we have evolved. That is, of course, nature. So Stephen Keller spearheaded biophilic design, highlighting the importance of bringing nature into the built environment and really honoring that human affinity to affiliate with natural system and processes. Biophilic design is a well-established discipline that springboards from three elements of direct nature. So these are natural materials and colors, plants, animals, fresh air, natural light, and so forth. Natural patterns, so these are elements that are aesthetic, so reference to naturalistic shapes, geometries, images of nature, or fractals, as you see in this image of a Romanesco, but also emotional natural patterns. Prospect and refuge is an example of a conditional evolved response that is genetically embedded in us and is relevant to retail. Many times we have found ourselves booking that corner table in a restaurant, a place of refuge, to have a view on the entire dining room, the prospect. And we feel good about that. The third element of biophilic design is culture and place. So in retail, we strive to be different and unique. So nature is different and unique in every single ecosystem or biome. Climate conditions are different. And so this dictates, if you wish, how people live, their lifestyle, what's meaningful to them, to us, and we start building a culture that is related to place and each other. And by doing this, we develop a reverence for beauty in that place. It's really manifested here in one of the most beautiful biophilic buildings I have ever seen. That is the Katsura Imperial Villa in Kyoto, Japan, and it's a master of architecture of the 15th century. Biophilic design is present in Seattle, so you may know the Birchie School, where children learn about the cycle of rainwater through the building all the way to the plumbing system. You may know the Amazon spheres, where the recreation of a forest stimulates physical and psychological benefits for the Amazonians who work there. And last but not least, in Vancouver, BC, you may have visited this incredibly beautiful building that fits in place, emerges in place with the poetic of the curves of the landscape, the waves, or the petals of a flower, and really draws people in with a sense of awe and discovery. The connection to nature, actually, we should talk a bit more about reconnection with nature, refinding that has been studied by companies like Google, who measured that bringing nature into an office space reduces stress, enhances creativity and problem solving, improves cognitive cognition, as well as create a positive and emotional experience that heightens appreciation of well-being. Nature is also important in the process of healing. So studies have been have proven that patients heal faster in a hospital that has that connection. I continued my exploration of nature, and then I discovered biomimicry, and this really changed my life. It started off when I read this book that one of my lifetime heroes, Janine Benyos, wrote almost 20 years ago. And biomimicry, the word says by itself, is emulation, imitations of nature, of life. Bios is life. And through this, the conscious emulation of life genius is for sure a survival strategy for humanity and a powerful path to a sustainable future. So life has been on the planet for 3.8 billion years. And during this time, life has tried to survive in any given conditions. So we can look at nature as a powerful research and development lab where we can study sophisticated solutions and the elegance of a flower or any living organism. We can admire the cycle of nature. Can you imagine designing the seasons or orchestrating spring every year? Nature does have wisdom, intelligence, and creativity. So sometimes it builds from bottom up using a set of nested components, or it does chemistry with water and integrates development with growth. These are life's principles that are deployed by all living organisms on the planet. And when I started to think about conscious emulation, I noticed that nature offers material genius. For example, we speak about structural color. The wings and body of this insect have a nanostructure that reflects the length of light in different ways to create color. No use of pigments or dyes. On the other hand, we use a lot of pigments and dyes to create colors that more often pollute our water bodies, but also may fade. Communication genius, think about ants. They never get stuck in traffic. They communicate with pheromones. Chemistry communication is something we have yet to untap, but we do get stuck in traffic thousands and millions of hours every day. So there's something to learn there. And also about system genius. Nature is a tapestry of systems of life working together. One of my favorite is nature produces, consumes, and decomposes. Of course, living organisms produce waste, but waste becomes an asset of value for another organism so that these resources continue to circulate and nature doesn't soil its nest. So to recap, biomimicry is based on these three elements in no particular order, but I like to spend a lot of time in nature to reconnect. And when I do that, I immerse myself into it. We all quiet our clever mind and open up the senses to really understand that there is a codependency and interconnection with all living organisms and ecosystems. And when we do that, we also have an intent to learn from nature, not about nature, because these are the lessons that we emulate in design solutions, human designs. And because they springboard from the knowledge of nature, and now is the ethos coming into place, they create conditions that are conducive to life. So learning from nature, we create a solutions that belongs to that ecosystems and creates those conditions for everybody to live in prosperity. So a little recap. So we went from a traditional building to a project that is resource centered with LEED, a human-centered design with WELL, and the beauty and happiness of the living building challenge, and finally a nature-centered approach with biophilia and biomimicry. So my reflection is about what if life is at the center of everything, specifically at the center of all design decisions. And this is how life positive design started to emerge. And today I can share with you that I have identified so far 6 foundations for life positive design: humanity, nature, commerce, circularity, technology, and art. And I'll deep dive a little bit into each one of these to see the relationship and relevance to retail store design. I like to speak of retail as the art of being chosen. So brands do a lot of work to be front and center and be found on a street by offering an experience that is catered to a customer. So humanity is embedded in retail and the way we do it. Forward to the time we live now, we want to go back to a place that is safe and offer conviviality. We crave for community, to be face to face and to be together. So this hypothetical store of the future, of which you will see a few images, tries to convey that. It's light, fresh, airy, colorful, joyful, and it offers a combination of seating elements that can be densified or spread out, guided by these fan boxes that create that natural distance, of safe distance, and also elements of privacy or connections. Nature is a big element in the aesthetic of this store of the hypothetical store of the future, and the power of an aesthetic approach to nature comes when the design is locally attuned and responsive. I live in the Bay Area, like Doug, and when I go out, I love to go to Point Reyes. Here you see that experience of this clean, fresh atmosphere, these colors, texture, this palette. And that's what I try to bring into the space, so that there is a continuity between where we live, where we dream of going, and where we experience retail or a cup of coffee with a friend. And I hope you recognize the connection, because I think it's important to highlight the place we have chosen to live in. And who would not want to have a picnic in a beautiful meadow surrounded by colorful spring flowers? And this is the inspiration for this, I hope, attractive outdoor seating area that creates a connection and engagement with customers who probably, hopefully, come and choose this coffee shop versus another, so that commerce can move forward to a much needed flourishing prosperity. Circularity is not a concept that I invented. I adopted it from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. But this is where we see the power of nature inspiration and how design, construction, and operations can work in a way that is inspired by how nature works. So shifting our mindset towards a design that out waste and pollution is important, a design that keeps products and materials in use in a cycle of value and ultimately regenerates the natural system. So we live on a planet that is not infinite, is finite, and we need to make a conscientious, proactive effort to look at options for circular economy so that if we use renewable materials and resources, they are in a cycle of value, like you see on the left side of the screen, the green wing of the diagram. But if resources are finite materials, then we go into a dimension of stock management. And so material specifications and solutions, as well as operational protocols, can find a lot of inspiration from a proposition of circularity. And biomimicry helps in one of the strategies of circularity, that is a smart material choice. And this is inspiration we learned from the muscles that attaches to rocks through these threads that have these head points with a super powerful glue that works even underwater. And scientists studied this adhesive and came up with a pure bond. That's the name of the product. That is a water-based biodegradable adhesive. And this is important because we commonly use formaldehyde-based products, and these products release pollutants in the air that can be even cancerogenic. And the choice of putting technology within life positive design, I think, is very important because technology is part of our life. We love it, we adopt it, we can't live without it, and it also gives the sense of time and history. And the mission of a life positive design is to deliver extraordinary digital journeys. And here is an idea. Imagine you are a customer, you placed your mobile order, and now you approach the pickup point for your products, and this cabby senses you arriving, and it lights up with that yellow square, so you know that's the place where your products are. I also think it's operationally savvy because the products are put in the cabbies from behind the counter, so the associates or baristas can check freshness and safety of the products while establishing a face-to-face, eye-to-eye connection with the customer picking up the product, and hopefully a smile on everybody's face. And lastly, I want to speak a little bit about art. As I said, I believe art is important. It builds culture, and brand capacity is unique in its own being. And in this project and all the others, I work with my sister Alessandra, who is based out of Milano in Italy. I think there is a sense of awe. Discovering is probably a powerful and fun Instagrammable moment, but it's also a story. So this Calabrone big bumblebee is alive, and it pollinates to create life. The way we like to work is also combining handcrafted and hand-painted scenes with element of contemporary digital art, so that to create that interaction. And this could be a springboard for many stories about pollinators, about coffee, about education, so that art becomes that center of communication for activities and messages that enhance that store personality. And this is the second art. I only show two. We call it Water Party California. So water is life. We are mostly made of water, and this is the focal point of this masterpiece and installation. And you see so many different living organisms and animals coming, gathering around this water hole to have a water party. And we would not have that dimension if not for the wonderful California condor that glides and watches the world teeming with life. So we can get any message out of it. I hope it creates a space of beauty and interest and something to look at that creates thought. For me, it speaks to joy, the joy of coming together in conviviality, diversity. It expresses the codependency of life, the power of being together, and the generosity of nature that nurtures all these living organisms. So I hope we can start thinking about new narratives and futures. And while we approach the end of this presentation, I want to reiterate that a life positive design is a celebration of humanity and the propensity of life to flourish in place. And by doing this, a powerful design approach to create community and through art, brand uniqueness. I am also fully aware, as we all are, that conversations in retail are about return on investment and how can design deliver on that economic model. Throughout my career, I have spoken a lot about return on experience, because without that and the cohesive presentation of graphics, art, service, smiles, paths, digital, and so forth, the experience is not powerful enough to grant for those transactions that contribute to that financial success. And today I like to speak strongly about return on sustainability. And I'm not the first one or the only one to talk about that. I was reading this month a beautiful article on the Harvard Business Review, where the team of the authors speak about return on sustainability investment. Sustainability doesn't come effortless. We need to really commit to it and creatively approach it to meet the needs of the brand. So in this article, How to Talk to Your CFO About Sustainability, 9 topics are highlighted. And I would like to speak, for example, to how sustainability creates a reputation for the brand that appeals to younger generation. Gen Z would make their decisions on sustainability practices for the brand that they decide to go with. It improves the morale of the employees and also engages stakeholders greatly. Where does life positive design contribute? I believe in the area of innovation, by creating those designs that communicate sustainability from an aesthetic and functional perspective. And with this said, I would like to share this movie. Yeah, okay. Can you hear me? Yes, and this is, I want to say one more time, Sandy Nelson did the logo brand identity movie website, absolutely phenomenal work. So thank you, Sandy. So yeah, so in a nutshell, my aspiration with Life Positive Design is to create unique and enriching retail experiences while nourishing the propensity of life to flourish. We are indeed nature and we are all life. And I hope we can all reconnect to that powerful dimension of who we are and deliver joy to our stores, the stores, restaurants, hotels of the future, joy through art. And if you are ready for a conversation, let me know. So thank you so much. And now is your time. Thank you.
Great presentation, Flavia.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm gonna stop sharing screen now. There we go. Okay.
Flavia, that was awesome.
I love
Thank
that
you.
I love that pollination mural. That is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, me too.
Nice work, Flavia and Sandy. The brand just shines so well, and it's just beautiful. Like Marie said in the chat, you feel lighter. It just really, it's very inspiring, and it really articulates your purpose. And you help bring us along by educating us, you know, about things before we talked about the brand, which I love that approach. So I just have a quick question, Flavia. Are there examples out there right now of store concepts, store retailers, brands that are using this well, in your opinion? And maybe a follow-up question is, if not, do you have some brands or concepts that you're like, they should be? You know, do you have some brands that are doing great things, but they're not doing this well? And who would those maybe be?
Well, I don't know. I think everyone who has an interest in biophilic design, and you see now many hotels bring in plants, for example, or a water feature, and they think, oh, check the box now, this is a biophilic design and people will come. I think it's a good gesture, but not yet there, because we can do more. What a look and feel that I think is fresh and nice. I have seen some Sweet Greens locations that do that. I don't know how they achieve that from a building circularity perspective, so I can only speak about the look and feel. But I don't see art this predominantly. That's what I don't see, because art is also expensive. And so probably it's not a good time to invest in that, but I think it's a big mistake. I would like Starbucks to do these type of projects. I would like all the brands to do this type of approach, if it's up to me. And can you imagine how differently everybody can be? Because if we are really working within a community and an ecosystem with local artists, there is a dimension of absolute uniqueness that can emerge from that. And professionals like us, and I put Daryl on the hot seat as well, we are used to create engineering, right, in the background in such a way that there is that speed to market, efficiency all across the board, but the presentation can be really aesthetically unique and geared to that location and community. Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
love how you bring the conversation about return on experience and return on sustainability into the discussion.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think nowadays, we have a new political leadership, and one of the first things that the new president did is to return to the Paris Agreement. So my belief is that ignoring sustainability is a huge mistake,
Mhm.
And I live with 3 teenagers, so I'm talking about that Gen Z. They go through extensive studies before they buy anything. And the study is, where do they get that? Where is my sweater gonna go after I don't want it anymore? So there is that full awareness, and for retailers, it becomes, even if I do my due diligence, I'm a circular construction and so forth, how do I communicate to the world? And that's an important fact. I think the other thing, you like the bumblebee, I love it too, because it's colorful and because I'm tired of looking at shops that are natural wood, white painted brick walls, and that kind of I call it the beigification, or that industrial look that is also very common in coffee shops. I think life can be richer
Mm.
and more joyful, and we all need that joy. We need some joy. It's not only being together, is what we see, the air we breathe, the colors, the art, the thinking that these spaces can generate in a community or for an individual. I think retail and food and beverage have a huge restaurant. But Doug, I'm thinking still, you always have the tough questions, and I love that. But with the pandemic, I have not been out and about to see restaurants and things like that. But generally speaking, there is really an interest in making people feel good.
Interestingly, when you were presenting this, considering that we're all alumni of Starbucks, I
Mhm.
could kept thinking that you are still presenting something to do with Starbucks. Sometimes I throughout the presentation I kept thinking that,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, it's really a good concept. And when did you start doing this?
This one was, well, maybe June last year, but it all started to come together around October. But
Oh.
I have to say this, Daryl, I have been studying biomimicry since 2015. So that required doing a master, and then now I'm in a professional training for 2 years and so forth. So doing that course of study, it is required that we build a bridge between what we know and what we do and the discipline of biomimicry. And that's part of the quote graduation process, if you wish. So it has been in the thinking process for quite some time, but just recently was that idea, oh, it needs to be positive, it needs to be alive, and then life positive design came about like that. And the words are pretty simple and self-explanatory, but in the context of sustainability, where there is a lot of positive, net zero positive here, nature positive, it's always a bit of a positive. Nobody has yet come up with that life positive connected together. And my journey is still long, because this, you just see the beginning. So I need to really deep dive much farther into the 6 foundations, and maybe I need 7, who knows. So it's work in development.
Hey everyone, this is Kate Bovey. Sorry my camera's not on. I've got just utter chaos around me. But
Kate.
it's so great to see you again, and I really enjoyed
Yes.
that presentation so much.
Thank you.
My question is about other NGOs or other organizations that are like-minded. So in this process, have you come across other partnership opportunities or other companies or NGOs that you could partner up with to help educate people about this?
No, not NGOs. I work with the biomimicry group. They have the institute, and we do work there. But biomimicry is such a hot discipline right now, and you will hear more about it. And even though the associations are non-profit, the institute is non-profit, the work we do is very valuable. I'm not very good at working with NGOs. It's not a thing I have done in my career. So if you see that there is a value to bring to NGO, that I believe there is, I would need help to understand how to do it.
Yeah, it's just interesting because it feels like there are so many ties to the materials and all the sustainability aspects to this, but it seems like it would be in lots of different organizations' interest to partner with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, my design is within the area of retail. So with retail, it's a profit-driven industry.
Right. Right.
So that has been most of my world. And I like to do coffee shops because I have been around, I think, at least 3 coffee brands in my life, major coffee brands. So
You were
it's a
still
bit addictive. Yeah.
Are you
Sorry.
still working closely with Pete?
No,
No.
no. But I worked in Vietnam for 3 years with Highlands Coffee. That was the biggest coffee chain in Vietnam, way bigger than anyone else. So coffee is in my blood. Still. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I thank you, Flavia. This was a real treat. And like I
Thank
said in
you.
my note, I feel lighter. I feel like it just feels, it was like a warm spa treatment to go through that that presentation. So thank you. I
Thank you.
know the rest of our organization is going to very much enjoy it. Thank you for joining us. And look for the next big event coming up. We've got James Kelly coming to join us. Doug is going to interview another alum from the From the Kitchen series, and we are going to partake in s'mores fun. So hopefully you guys get your s'mores. We're going to be putting some info out on that. And one quick, easy way to get your hands on some s'mores is to visit greenapronstories.com. If you add your story, if you like someone else's story and add to it, you have a chance to win. Each week, we are pulling a winner from participants on the Green Apron Stories, and you'll be pleasantly surprised. There's some incredible stuff coming through there. So if you didn't know about Starbucks before, go visit that, because we built Starbucks. We built 50 years of Starbucks, this team here. So go celebrate yourself on Green Apron Stories and get a chance to win James Kelly's some more treats. So,
Yep.
okay,
It all
everybody,
stays in
thank
the
you.
family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Flavia. Thank you.
Thank
Ciao,
you.
Bella.
All. That was
Ciao.
amazing.
Bye,
Thank you
folks.
for your hospitality. Bye. Bye. Bye.